If this video found its way to you, consider it a signal, because by the end, you'll understand the exact psychological levers that have been used on you your entire life, often without you ever realizing it. Whether you're in a classroom, a boardroom, or trying to navigate a complicated relationship, the patterns I'm about to break down are the same ones that political strategists, top-tier salespeople, and even those closest to you have used to shape your decisions. For years, you might have felt something was off but couldn't put your finger on it. Today, we pull back the curtain. But before we go further, know this: these aren't just tricks, they're reflections of human nature. Understanding them isn't about manipulation, it's about protection and intentionality. If you're ready to see the matrix of social influence for what it really is, let me know in the comments. I'm ready. And if you're not prepared to look at your own behaviors and the behaviors of others through this lens, this might not be for you. Because once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. Let's begin. The reverse psychology principle: you're likely familiar with this concept, but I'd argue 90% of people don't understand its most potent application. When and how to deploy it is the real secret. Think back to the very first moments of this video. I used this principle on you. Did you catch it? When I suggested that if you weren't ready, you should skip this, what did you do? The exact opposite. Why? Because telling someone not to do something triggers a core psychological reflex. The moment you hear "don't watch," your brain's first instinct is to lean in to prove the suggestion wrong. This is the magic of reverse psychology. It's not about giving orders, it's about presenting a challenge. How can you apply this? First, if you need someone to complete a task, frame it as something they're probably not capable of. Say, "I doubt you can finish this by the deadline." Their ego will often compel them to prove you wrong. Second, if you want someone to do something, casually suggest they shouldn't bother. You'll probably find this boring. Their curiosity will spike, and they'll likely do it just to see if you were right. Third, create a dynamic where your expectations are low. When someone feels they have something to prove to you, they'll often go above and beyond to exceed those underestimated expectations. The illusion of choice: this is a masterclass in how we believe we're in control, while the outcome has already been decided for us. Psychologists have long understood that our decisions aren't as logical as we think, they're deeply predictable. When presented with options like buy one, get one free or 50% off, you feel empowered, as if you've chosen the best deal. But the truth is, the choice was engineered. The only guaranteed outcome is that you make a purchase. This is the illusion of choice. When you give someone a fixed set of options, their brain stops searching for alternatives. They feel a sense of autonomy, but the path you want them to take is the only one available. In practice, this looks like asking, "Do you want to handle this today or tomorrow?" Both answers lead to the work being done, but the other person feels respected. Want to invite someone out? Instead of asking, "Do you want to go to a movie?" ask, "Would you prefer a thriller or a comedy?" The decision to go out is made the moment they choose a genre. In a relationship, you could ask, "Did you miss me a little or a lot?" It's a playful question that frames the feeling as already present. The key is to structure the options so that any choice leads to your desired outcome. Fear as a mechanism: creating urgency through fear is one of the oldest and most effective control tactics in the human playbook. History is filled with examples of leaders who amplified external threats to consolidate power. By painting a picture of a shared, looming danger, they unified people under their direction. Today, you see this in politics, where the message is often, "If we don't win, everything is at risk." Large corporations use it constantly. Limited time offer, don't miss out. But it's perhaps most potent in personal relationships. A manipulator might begin with an overwhelming display of affection, constant praise, gifts, and attention, a phase often called love bombing. They build a world where the other person feels utterly adored and dependent on that validation. Then suddenly, that attention is withdrawn. The victim, now conditioned to crave that feeling, experiences a deep fear of losing it. They'll start to do anything to get back to that initial state, often agreeing to things they never would have before. Fear doesn't just motivate, it controls. Recognize this pattern, not to use it, but to ensure you aren't trapped by it. The chameleon effect: people trust those who feel familiar, and the fastest way to feel familiar is to mirror their world. This technique is about strategic adaptation. If someone is emotional, you don't have to be a rock. You can show a little vulnerability. If they're ambitious, share your goals. If they have a dry sense of humor, let that be your tone. You're not faking a personality. You're creating a bridge by speaking their language, matching their energy, and showing genuine interest in what they care about. If they're passionate about a specific sport, you bring up topics related to it. If they're deeply focused on their career, you discuss growth and strategy. You become a reflection of their own values and interests, and they begin to feel a deep, soul-level connection. They start to feel understood on a level few others reach. However, this power comes with a warning. If used deceptively and people discover you are simply mirroring them, the trust built collapses instantly. The genuine application of this is for understanding and influence. Use it to disarm a potentially manipulative person. If you suspect someone is trying to play games, match their tone and energy. They'll feel like you're on their side, making it easier for you to anticipate their next move. Remember, the chameleon changes color for survival, not conquest. The mirror effect: if you want to neutralize someone without a direct confrontation, show them a reflection of their own behavior. This goes beyond just matching interests. This is about reflecting their actions, emotions, and attitudes back at them. When your posture, tone, and even word choice subtly align with theirs, they feel a profound sense of connection. They think, "This person gets me." But the dangerous turn happens when this reflection is weaponized. Once a manipulator has mirrored you and gained your trust, they can start to use your own words, your own insecurities, and your own secrets against you. You become confused, questioning your own reality. You might feel emotionally weak, thinking, "Maybe I am overthinking this," when in reality, you're caught in a calculated mind game. The counter to this is the reverse mirror. If someone is trying to use your own energy against you, give it back. When they use aggression, mirror that back with calm, unyielding steadiness. When they try to gaslight you, reflect their exact words back to them as a question. Their own tactics become their undoing and their control shatters. A simple way to build connection ethically is to practice what's called a connection hack. When someone says, "I'm exhausted today," pause for a beat and reply, "Wow, you really are exhausted." It sounds simple, but it activates mirror neurons in their brain, making them feel deeply heard. The power of the pause: everyone thinks power comes from the loudest voice or the fastest comeback. Real control often comes from silence. Psychology reveals that the person who speaks less often holds more weight. When you fill every space with words, your presence becomes lighter. But when you're comfortable with silence, your expressions, your posture, and your eye contact become more significant. A well-placed pause can create more pressure than any argument. Imagine a conversation. The other person finishes their point. Instead of immediately responding, you just hold their gaze for a few seconds. What happens? They get uncomfortable. They start to clarify, they add details they didn't mean to share. They reveal more, all to break the silence you've created. Think of it this way: a parent's 100 words of scolding have less impact than a 2-minute period of silent, disappointed stillness. Your friend shares a story, and instead of a quick reaction, you just smile slightly and stay quiet. Their brain will start to wonder, did I say something wrong? Did they not understand? And they will likely fill the void with more information. This pause gives you two things. First, information: people talk more when you're quiet. Second, perceived power: you don't look desperate to fill the space. Your words, when they finally come, land heavier. The next time you're in a group, don't be the one making the noise. Observe, feel the room, and when you speak, say something that commands silence. Silence creates mystery, mystery commands respect. The foot in the door technique: the human mind has a fascinating flaw. Once it agrees to a small request, it's far more likely to agree to a much larger one later. This is the foot in the door principle. You start with a tiny favor. "Can you lend me a pen?" Once they've said yes to that, their brain wants to remain consistent. Then you escalate: "While you're at it, could you help me review this document?" Why does this happen? Because we justify our past actions. If I helped you once, my brain says I'm a helpful person, so saying no to a slightly bigger request creates cognitive dissonance. But there's a powerful twist to this. Amplify the problem before you make your request. Don't just ask for notes. Say, "I'm in a real bind. The professor has this huge exam, and if I don't get these notes, I might fail. I know you're busy, but I'm desperate." You've now done two things. First, you've created an emotional urgency around the request. Second, you've given them a reason to feel like a hero for helping. Their reason to say no disappears because the stakes feel so high. In relationships, this might look like asking for a small, consistent favor and gradually building it. "Could you reply to this text for me? Then could you make sure to reply to my messages quickly? Then I'd really appreciate it if you text me first from now on." Each step feels minor, but the cumulative effect is a major shift in behavior, all built on the foundation of small, consistent yeses. Mastering these patterns requires more than just knowing them. It requires an unshakable core of confidence. A confidence that isn't just felt internally but radiates outward, making every interaction you have powerful and intentional. If you want to build that kind of deep, authentic confidence, the kind that allows you to stand your ground in any conversation, I've broken down the entire process in the video you see on your screen right now. Click through to watch it. If you found this exploration of the mind valuable, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Winds of Thought. I'll see you in the next one.